Welcome, everyone, to the Bucks County Living Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Neff, your real estate resource. Today, I am joined by my good friend, Neil Flax, the president and founder of B.A.I. Security Systems Incorporated. How's it going, Neil? Good to see you.
Alex, great to see you as well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you so much for carving out the time to come here because you are very, very busy.
Love to do it.
And you are always open to new business.
Absolutely.
And I love that about you because no matter how busy you are servicing the alarms and the sprinkler systems and fire extinguishers of the community, you are always open to helping somebody else.
We do it all. We really try to get involved with the community, get involved with whatever we can do to help. And, you know, it's just the right thing to do, and it's been doing it for 40 some odd years.
Wow.
I will make a correction. No sprinklers, nothing with water. Fire alarms.
Just fire alarms.
Just fire, bird, cameras, access control.
Thank you for clarifying for all the listeners because if you can't do the sprinklers, we don't want you messing with them. And
that's anything with water scares me.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, me too. I think that was always one of my biggest fears as a kid. Like, we're in school, right? You're sitting at your desk, and there's sprinklers all throughout the classroom and throughout the entire school. What if somebody just plays a joke and all my stuff gets wet, and now I got to sit in this wet uniform for the next 6 hours for the rest of the day?
And it's not clean water that comes out.
Ugh.
It's nasty, rusty water that comes out.
See,
it's a
I
mess.
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
that makes it even worse now.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, it's people have asked me over the years because we do a lot of commercial work. Do I know any sprinkler companies? And you know, I've never really found one that I've worked with that, you know, and this is not saying that there aren't any. I just haven't found people out there that I can safely refer.
Right, because you refer somebody, you kind of put your stamp on it, right? And that's why it's so important. I mean, I love our networking group that we're in, Brian Hughes Business Connections.
Yep, absolutely.
It's not about who you know, it's who knows you. And when you're able to actually connect with somebody on a personal level, that's when you start to put your rubber stamp on them and the work that they do, because you know that if you know them as a human being and you genuinely like them, you know they're probably going to do good work for the people that you refer to them.
You know, what they always say is that people do business with people they like.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the other thing, too, is we are in, I'm in a few networking groups, have been in a few networking groups, and there are a lot of people that I know that are great people, but I'm just not sure about referring. You know, not everyone does what I consider to be the right amount, the right work, the right quality of work. And it's critical to me because, as you just said earlier, it's an extension of me. And it's almost worse if I refer someone and they do a terrible job. So I'm very particular because I'm nuts. I like things to be perfect and done the right way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's dive right into it. What is B.A.I. Security Systems Incorporated? What is everything that you cover? What is everything that you do? What areas do you serve? Let's talk about your business.
Yeah, sounds good. So that's easy. I can do that. Started this business when I was 18. Did it on the side. I'm from Brooklyn, in case you couldn't tell by the accent.
Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, how you doing? You know, them three guys over there. You know what I mean? But moved here in October of 87, incorporated here in April of 88. Did this on the side till 1993. January 3rd, 1993, went into this full time. We installed burglar alarms, fire alarms, cameras, access control, networking cabling, nurse call systems, Wanda Guard, fire extinguishers. We do full service fire extinguishers, hydro tests, breakdowns, inspections, so on. Low voltage, we do on a larger scale some commercial audio. We used to do a lot of home theater. We don't do that anymore. I partner with another company, Audio Lab, that we work with. And again, I refer them. It's like perfection, and they refer me, and it's perfection, and we try to keep it that way. And the areas we service were licensed in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. We At this moment, we handle Chickies and Pete's. We handle Enterprise Rent-A-Cars. We did all their locations, well, not all their locations, but 100 and, I don't know, 20 locations, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Jersey. We did Enterprise. We do municipalities. We do Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza. We do fire alarms in the firehouse. So we have a pretty wide reach for a small local company. And that's all due to the networking groups. I go back to that. We're certified, we have licensing, and we have certifications, whether it be manufacturer certifications or like I'm nice at 2. I have one of my guys is also nice at level 2, and that's for the fire alarms. That's to be able to make sure we're able to do fire alarms. So we do all different things for all different people, but we're still local.
I love that. I mean, there's so much to unpack there.
And residential.
And residential
A lot of residential. A lot of residential.
So you're like air. You're everywhere. You know. So.
we're, whoever wants us to do. So we do jobs from very, very small to huge.
Now, what was that licensing or that level 2 that you were talking about? What is that?
So in order to work in New Jersey is. New Jersey, Delaware also have a certain licensure that you have to have for fire alarms. Pennsylvania does not. They have certain things, but they're less strict. So if you're licensed in New Jersey, you must have a NICET level 2, 3, or 4. I'm NICET 2, 3, and 4 are more for design, that sort of thing. I just hire an engineer. I don't really want to follow through and take the courses and keep up the certificate because it's not necessary. So in order to be able to work in New Jersey and install commercial fire alarm systems, you need to have that level. It's National Institute of Civil Engineers and Technology is what NICET stands for.
Interesting.
I'm also a licensed fire alarm inspector in the city of Philadelphia. So I can inspect any building, any size, or any complex in the city of Philadelphia. So it's, I can do all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Because, so like in the real estate world, right, when somebody wants to look at houses in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, so like where we are in Newtown, very close to New Jersey, just a stone's throw away right over the river. And I always tell people that if they want to look on both sides of the bridge, the real estate, the contracts are completely different. The style is completely different. The
one you need a lawyer, one you don't.
Exactly. In New Jersey, you have something called attorney review, where you hire an attorney to review all the documentation, the contracts, the paperwork for you. Because me as a real estate licensee, I'm not allowed to talk contract law. In Pennsylvania, it's very different. Where yes, we make no legal representations, but we usually negotiate things on behalf of the clients. Whereas in New Jersey, it's really all attorneys.
Right, can't do that.
So completely different, and like the fundamentals are the same, but completely different styles. So it's interesting to hear that it's not just in real estate; it's also something. It's also in the world of fire alarms too.
Well, it's interesting. What Jersey tried to do, and I believe they've succeeded, is to get rid of the trunk slammers. And what a trunk slammer is a person who just works out of the trunk of his car. He goes in and says, oh, yeah, I can put up a smoke detector. I can put up a horn strobe or do whatever, and not be licensed, not be educated, not be certified, not have any knowledge about anything other than be able to put a screw in a wall and mount the device and run some wire.
Mm-hmm.
He may not know all the intricacies, load counts, and so on and so forth of what you need to do. And they got tired of people doing that. So when you're licensed in New Jersey, you're required to have a certain level of insurance. You're required to have continuing education. I know you folks do the same thing. You require continuing education.
Every 2 years.
Yeah. We're every 3, and it's different for Berg. It's different for fire. There's some crossover. certain things you must know. In Pennsylvania, we can do high voltage, which is 110 or more electrical, high voltage. We can wire up an outlet or wire up a light if we so choose. In New Jersey, the only thing we are allowed to wire on high voltage is anything connected to the fire alarm. But we can't go into the breaker box. But if someone were to give us a whip, which is a metal, the wire that comes out of it, we can tie that in. That allows us to do that, even though that is out of our low voltage purview.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that they always wanted to drive home with real estate school for New Jersey was it's to protect the public. That's why we have the licensing, to protect the public, because
Agreed.
you don't want the trunk slammers. I call them Chuck with a truck. So
It's exactly, you're right. It's the same thing.
yeah, you know,
Same thing. It's perfect. Yeah.
and you want to protect the public, because at the end of the day, we depend on the communities for our business to thrive. So why would we not do what we can to protect the communities that we serve?
Yeah, you know, listen, I am all for licensing. I'm all for the regulations. I'm all for the permitting process when it comes to these things, because years ago, I know a lot of the fire marshals in Pennsylvania, a lot of the municipalities, and they have an organization. I don't remember the name of it, but it's something like the Bucks County or whatever Fire Marshals Association, something to that effect. I don't remember the exact name, but they invited me a couple of times to speak. And what I did was I made up a big board, put a fire alarm system on there, and I showed them what to look for, that guys like me, not exactly like me, who didn't do the right thing and try to shortcut and cheat the system, I showed them what to look for. You know, when we do a system, we do it correctly. There's a lot of ways to cheat the system. And first off, it's life safety. So that's a problem. And then the other part is, all right, so I save a little wire, or maybe I don't have to do so much of this or that. And it's a game that people play, and it's all the law of numbers. It's, you know, how many fire marshals are going to really look at this?
Mm-hmm. How many people are actually going to go through the crawl space and get on all fours to army crawl to see if the wire is correctly fastened to the wall?
That's
or
exactly
something
right.
like that.
That's exactly right. You're 100% that. And you see right up here above us, we have a horn strobe. That little thing that says fire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's audible and visual. Actually, I'm sorry, that's just a strobe. It has no audible because we're in a confined space. You don't want to make someone deaf. That's one of the things. With fire alarms is ADA requirements, American Disabilities Act. And what people think, that's a suggestion or that's code. It's not a suggestion. It's not code. It's law. So if I take that unit off the ceiling, your fire alarm panel is going to go into trouble. Somebody did something to something. I'm going to make a noise that's annoying. I'm going to call, this is the fire alarm. It's going to call Central Station. It's going to say, okay, hey, you've got bell trouble or knack trouble, whatever they want to call it. And now somebody like me is going to come in and go, okay, oh, that's missing. And there you go, the same thing now. All of those strobe lights, when you're in a location, all of those strobe lights must flash at the same time. They call it syncing. Because if it doesn't, somebody who is prone to seizures can go into a seizure from the strobe lights.
I never thought of that. I never really thought of that. I mean, so when you are wiring these fire alarms and the strobe lights, because I guess they don't come like already synced, do they?
Well, there's a module on the panel that will work together. There are now, of course, with modern electronics, it's pretty much there if you get the right panels. there are still certain things we have to do. The equipment has to be matched. You can't use this ABC and then use CBS or something potentially. It may not sync.
Gotcha.
So everything that is done on a fire alarm, commercial fire alarm, is redundant. So everything has a backup. There's electric, there's a battery backup. There's two means of communications. So years ago, it used to be two phone lines. Now it's a specific type of cell radio that works. But it's pretty much all life safety. You know, do I want, God forbid, a building or a home, not a building, not a home, but an apartment house to burn down, and God forbid someone dies and the fire alarm doesn't go off? I mean, I never want anything bad to happen. But same thing with a home. You know, when you deal with residential security, which is predominantly what you guys do, right?
Mm-hmm.
People say, okay, you know, some of the bigger companies, and I'm not knocking any company, but what makes me viable and saleable, if I ever want to sell, is my monitored accounts. So that's what creates the value. So that's why a lot of these companies will offer the quote unquote free systems. But what they give you, you sell homes that are $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, whatever. They give you 3 doors and a motion detector. How many properties do you sell on a regular basis that 3 doors and a motion detector is going to cover? Almost none. But people say, oh, I have a security system. No, you don't. You think you do. So we try to give them the right thing. We tell them listen, you need to cover all of this. You need to cover your windows. You need to cover your doors. And I line item everything out. If you choose not to, that's up to you. But at least you have a fighting chance and that you have a security system, as opposed to, it'll make noise if someone goes through that door, but not through the windows.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, how do you put a price on peace of mind and
that's
safety?
part of our company, the Peace of Mind Company. We call ourselves Peace of Mind Company.
It's true. It's so true. So because you are really, really knowledgeable. I mean, doing this for over 30 years, 40 years now?
40 years, yeah.
40 years in business. How did you get into this business to start out with?
That's actually a funny thing. I used to work in Soho in New York. My uncle owned a factory, and I'll be 65, God willing, in December. And I used to go into the factory and work, quote unquote, with my aunt on a Saturday or something when I was 5, 6 years old. I walked around, they fed me, and I played with the people that worked there. And as I grew up, I would work there in the summer. I learned everything there was about the pen industry. We manufactured and imprinted ballpoint pens for advertising specialty. So anything with all the pens that you have with your name on it, that's what we used to do. I learned all the machines. I learned the plumbing. I learned the electric. I learned how to run the business. I learned inventory, all of it. And I loved all that. It was something different. And I would see the alarm guy come in. This is before Central Station. This is when we used to have a tape dialer. And that tape dialer would make a phone call. The guy would come in, he'd fix the alarm, and he'd get a check, and he'd leave. A couple of weeks later, he'd come in, he'd fix the alarm, and he'd get a check and leave. And this went on a few times, and I'm saying, I could do this. I could fix it, get a check, and leave. I could do the same thing. So, it's sort of I could do the same thing. Why not? So, 10 minutes away from my uncle's place on Canal Street in Manhattan was a do-it-yourself alarm company called Abco Supply. They are still there to this day. I still know the owner. We still talk periodically. And they had these big rolls of paper. And they pulled out a big white sheet. And he said, what do you have? I said, a door here, a window here. And he drew everything up. And then he said, all right, this is the equipment you need. And I did it. And then we added more things. We wired up the factory and so on. And then I wired my apartment. And then I wired my uncle's apartment. And then I was wiring friends' apartment. So it was like just making cash. Went into the real estate in Soho back in the 80s, watched the whole gentrification of Soho. I was in the middle of that. And I still did this on the side. So I'd hire the electricians that worked for me to do the installations. And now we're into monitoring now. So now I would get the monitoring. New Year's Eve, 1988, I was at my supply house on Canal Street, and my architect, one of my architects, comes in, and we both looked at each other and said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Oh, they just broke into all the offices in my building. I need to put something here. I'm afraid. I don't know what to do." He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I do this on the side." He said, "Can you help me?" I said, "Sure." I had no tools. He had a screwdriver, a flathead, Phillips head, and he had a staple gun and a pair of scissors. And I wired up his office New Year's Eve. The day after New Year's, I did another office. But New Year's Eve, I made $1,000 cash. I was like, whoa, this is fantastic.
Wow.
You know, it's amazing. So it was fun. And then I went into it in January 3rd, 1993. I was selling roofing and waterproofing, commercial roofing and waterproofing in New York. And I got fired. And I said, well, I'm just going to go into this full time. And fortunately, I'm blessed. I was able to build it up from less than zero to what it is today. And it's, listen, we've got a very good name. We do a lot of large accounts. And, I've got guys down at Chickies and Pete's in Egg Harbor right now. So we do Chickies and Pete's and all of that. And, all of these people rely on us to take care of things. And we don't let them down.
Now, it's an incredible story, because who would have thought that as a twist of fate would have it on New Year's Eve?
It's exactly what it is.
And then, just being able to do that right then and there, and happy as a clam, celebrate New Year's.
I got home at 5 to 12.
Yeah. and then just, that's like, I'm in. I can do this.
And I was self-taught for all intents and purposes. And then obviously as time went on, we took courses and certifications and so on. But it was fun.
And sometimes it's just as simple as saying, I can do that. And just having that belief that we can really do anything we set our mind to,
exactly.
And they tell you as kids, you can be whatever you want to be, but it just seems so cliche when they say that. But the truth is, you really can do whatever we set our minds to.
Right, and if you have a passion,
exactly,
it makes it even better.
Exactly, and I love that about the industry that I'm in, about real estate, and I'm so thrilled that like how many people on this planet wake up and don't have a purpose? They feel as though they don't have a purpose to their life. Where it's
Agreed.
like I love coming to work. It doesn't even feel like work to me. It feels like an opportunity, right?
Life is an opportunity.
It really, really is. And the fact that you've been doing this for 40 years and you found this purpose of just keeping the community safe.
That's it. We do the right thing. We make sure that, listen, I can't guarantee that nothing is going to happen or something's going to happen either way, but I can give you the best shot. I'll give you the proper equipment. Mm-hmm. I'll show you how to use it. But the other part is, you do have to turn it on.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, if believe it or not, a lot of people, I don't use it. You need to use it.
Wow.
But you talk about that when I did real estate in Soho, I called myself a fresh air inspector, because I walked around and I'm talking to people.
Yep.
That's what I did. I talked to people, and I got deals. I did. It was incredible. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, entrepreneurship is very much a contact sport.
You've got to be out there. You've got to be a people person.
Absolutely, and
And
you have to have their best intentions at heart too. What they want is what we have. We try to manage expectations and guide them the best we can,
exactly.
but ultimately, they're the shot callers at the end of the day, and we're just here to provide the roadmap.
Well, and it's interesting. Obviously, Fred Fletcher, Fletcher's Garage. Freddie and I are buddies, been buddies for many years. Same philosophy. He and I have lost money because we did the right thing. Something happened, we stood behind or whatever. Listen, we all make mistakes, but you stand behind it. And he's an honest mechanic, and I'm an honest alarm guy. I'm not a salesperson. I go to someone's home or business. I'm not selling them anything. I'm giving them what's in their best interest. What they do with that, that's their deal. I try to explain to them what it is. I will never do anything wrong. I will never do anything against code. I will never lie. I'll lie for two reasons. One, it's wrong, and two, I'll never remember. So, it's you do the right thing.
Yeah,
You always do the right thing, and you can never go wrong.
exactly. If we do the right thing the right way with the right intentions, the dollars will follow.
100%.
I truly believe that.
I agree.
What I could talk about, just trying to help humankind all day long, but I do want to talk about BAI and what does BAI even stand for?
Alex, there's a lot of acronyms for BAI, but and if you think hard enough, you can think of them. But it really, first off, I incorporated it literally as B period A period I period Security Systems Incorporated. But when I started this, when I was 18 or 17, whenever it was, I said I need to sound important. So burglar alarms installed, BAI.
Simple,
It's just that easy.
catchy,
Yeah, just
straight
that
to
easy,
the point.
And it's interesting how people will call it BIA, AIB. It's like it's so simple, but yet people.
Yeah,
But you know what? It doesn't matter as long as you call me. Whatever you want to call it, it's fine.
exactly.
We'll let it go.
What makes BAI security stand out from other security systems that are out there?
I guess the thing is, so you're sort of asking me what my competition is, but you're not. But I tell people, listen, I don't have competition, or I don't know my competition because I don't really pay attention to my competition. I do what I do. I never step on anybody, and there are a lot of local alarm companies out here that we are all friendly competitors. And if somebody walks in on someone else and says, hey, I'm not happy with Mr. Smith and his alarm company, I've called up Mr. Smith and said, hey, they're not happy with you. You want to call them. And they've done the same for me. It's just, it's honesty. It's just doing the right thing. It's providing a quality service. Things go wrong. Things go wrong. Today, equipment is incredibly poor. All equipment. That large manufacturers, their quality control is terrible. And that's across the board. That's everything that everyone else uses. We get stuff that's bad out of the box. Sadly, it is what it is. And it's not us. It's, I don't want to mention any names of multinational companies that if I mention the name, you go, oh my God. We stand behind it. We do what we need to do to make sure that everything we do is right. And that's what it is. I mean, anybody can do a good job and walk away. It's when something happens, what do you do to stand behind it?
I love that. And I think you made a really good point too, because I'll speak for myself. I don't view competition as competition anymore. They're my coworkers. Really, right?
Yeah. Look, you've got how many?
We have
people in this
150 agents in this
office?
office.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So
but then even just any licensed realtor in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, I might have to work with them in a transaction one day. Why would I want to leave a poor taste in somebody's mouth because of my own actions if I might have to work with them again in the future?
It's always, listen, to me, I don't bother with anybody that's not nice. I don't bother with anybody that is going to be a problem. But as you have people here, we all don't like each other. Maybe we do. There's going to be somebody that doesn't like you. I mean,
exactly. Sometimes it's just not a good business decision
it
to
is
take
what it
on
is,
a
but,
client. I
but,
understand
but,
that.
But you work with people. You work with everybody. You do the right thing. And it really is, you probably more so, you're more so than me. There's 150 some odd agents here that technically I could walk out of here and go into another office and talk to somebody else or vice versa. I mean, it just keeps moving. So your rapport with people and who you are as a person, you and I only know each other a few months. And I know, and interestingly enough, I know your wife, which I didn't know was your wife, that sort of thing. And I always had a lot of respect, and she was always great and helped me out. First National Bank. I'll give the plug. But, the minute I met, we locked. I mean, it was a good friendship. I can tell you're a right guy and you do the right thing and you're honest. And look, you're going to show someone a home or a business. Your end goal is to make a living. Your end goal is to do this, but sometimes it may not be in your best interest to sell the house that's 500 to a person who really can only afford 400.
Exactly. I try to make the budget fit make the house fit the budget rather than the budget fit the house.
Exactly.
Because they're living with a 30-year fixed mortgage payment. It's
right.
And I'm that middleman, right? I'm that middleman between what people want, what are their real estate goals, and how can I help that materialize? How can I help manage the expectations while still giving them the best service possible?
Right.
And I know that you do. I truly sense that you do the same thing with your customers and your clientele. That, hey, this is what I'm recommending you do. Talk it over with whoever you got to talk it over with. I'm happy to move forward when you're ready.
And that's the thing. When I go to a business, when I go to a home, I don't know if you've ever taken sales training.
Yes, all the time they make us do it.
What's ABC?
Always be closing.
I don't do that.
Okay.
I never did that. It's not something, I'm not a hammer. When I come to your home or business, I go through everything. I listen to what you're looking for. Fire alarms, not subjective. Burglar alarms are subjective. You sound like you do the same thing. You have to. You have to listen to what they're saying. You have to hear. And that could be subjective because what I'm saying may not be what I really want. But I'm not going to stand there and say to you, I need a signature today. If you sign today, this is what you do. I don't do that. I will take down the information, go back to my office, I'll have a proposal drawn up, and I'll email you. I may follow up and just say, just want to make sure you got it. But I've had people, Alex, come back to me after 2 years and say, hey, we're ready to do this.
Wow.
I mean, I said, okay, I need to reprice, but it is what it is, especially a lot with commercial people do that. They try to put things in the budget and so on. I'm here when you're ready.
I love that. Yeah, I came from one of those cutthroat sales environments prior to real estate, and it was definitely a high pressure, very high intensity kind of sales job. And once I got into real estate, I realized that I didn't want to do that kind of selling anymore. I didn't want to do that because it didn't make me feel good as a human being. And ultimately, I just wanted to help people. I wanted to help people achieve their goals. And I wasn't going to do that by being like, you have to, every house we see, you have to get this one. You have to get, it's not that kind of business.
No, it can't be.
We'll find the right one. When you sense that this is the right one, you'll know. And I'm happy, and I'll be right there behind you, supporting you and cheering you on.
It'll click, and I'm sure that you have dealt with people for long periods of time, And then they go, oh, well, whatever. And then they may call you back
Yep.
and say, hey, listen, we found this. It's the one thing I know is you can't be everything to everyone, but you have to be true to yourself.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Next, I like to move into a section called the Big Three. So the Big Three are 3 questions that I ask everyone that comes onto the show. So my first question for you,
Yes,
Neil.
I'm good looking. No.
So my first question for you, Neil, is what do you think makes Bucks County a great place to live?
I have to tell you, I'm from Brooklyn. So when I moved out here, one of my friends growing up from first grade was transferred out to Princeton at Bankers Trust back in '85. And I said to him, I said, dude, what are you, a farmer? I said, you're going to walk around with a hayseed and a straw in your mouth? Really? Is that what you're going to do? And he moved out here because they told him Princeton's expensive, move to Yardley. It's a great place. And I made a left at the cow and a right at the barn, and that's how I got to his house. and I'm not kidding. It's kind of what it was. He says, you'll see this crossroads, and there'll be a cow standing on there, and I will tell you that I am here since October 17th, 1987, and I just said this last night. I was talking to a neighbor, and a couple of rabbits ran by, and then later on a fox went by, and then later on deer were there, and you see the groundhogs running around, and I still laugh. I'm still blown away at the animals and the nature. I think it's such a great place. Sadly, it's getting a little bit more developed than I would like, but I think just being here, it's a lot slower than Brooklyn, even still, as much as it ramped up. I think the people are very nice for all intents and purposes. You get bad people everywhere, but Bucks County is a great place. I love it here. I go to New York periodically, and I say to my wife, I said, let's go. And I come home, and I cross the bridge, the Route 1 bridge, and I get into my area, into Yardley, and I go, wow, this is great. I love it. It's a moderate place as far as weather. We get a little cold, we get a little hot, we get here, there, but for all intents and purposes, it's level.
Mm-hmm.
It really is just a great place to be.
Yeah.
And I think for all intents and purposes, the people are great.
No earthquakes. Hardly get any
We
blizzards.
we have
had
earthquakes.
a rumble one time. I remember that.
And we are on a fault line.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we are on a fault. We're definitely on a fault. As a matter of fact, with my previous insurance company, I won't mention names, I had earthquake insurance. I swear, Alex, I think it was like $15 a month extra or $15 extra a year, or some ridiculous amount. I went, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Oh, man. That's a first. That's a first for the podcast. That's a first that I've ever heard anybody getting earthquake insurance.
Check it out. They do sell it, or they did, and we are on a minor fault.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. All right. So my next question is, what are some of your favorite restaurants in Bucks County?
Oh, there's a bunch. I love Italian food. So Osteria Vecchia, Di Lorenzo's pizza place on Trenton Road. So it's the one that serves these giant portions of chicken parm, and you get a chicken parm dinner. It's 3 giant slabs or 2 giant slabs of chicken parm, and probably a pound of pasta, and a great salad. And if you ask for wine, they give you a little Chianti, and it's phenomenal. Kazdans. You know Kazdans?
Oh, yeah.
Kazdans, people go, like I brought the kids there, and they go, wow, really? Is this what we're eating? Well, they make, I think, some of the best prime rib.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal prime rib.
So what's interesting, I found out about Kazdans is that their crab bisque is probably one of my favorite things in the world. There's this Levittown soup lady that makes the soup for Kasdan's and like Bailey's.
Really?
On Bristol Emily
Yeah,
Road.
I love Bailey's.
I'm
yeah.
trying to find this Levittown soup lady. So if anybody that's listening, if you know the Levittown soup lady, please reach out to me. I need to get her on the podcast too, because she makes some incredible soup and works with Kasdan's. Kasdan's is probably one of my all-time favorite places. It's right around the corner from my house.
It's great. And Bailey's, Chris and Anna and everybody over there, I love those guys. So I'll ask Chris about the soup lady.
Yeah, please.
See if we can find out. Maybe get a secret divulged.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bailey's phenomenal fries and hamburgers and all kinds of stuff and wings. Really another good place. We go to La Stalle, or we go to Vince's Pizza, we go to the Yardley Inn, the Continental, the Vault. We eat out a lot because both my wife and myself are busy working and running and taking care of the kids, the grandkids. So we go to a lot of places, but Purple Leaf, great Chinese place.
Yeah, you're naming some heavy hitters right now.
Yeah, I mean,
so these are some
good
fantastic
stuff.
restaurants.
And not necessarily like, oh my God, expensive stuff.
Yeah, very reasonable.
Reasonable, day-to-day stuff. You walk in, it's like Cheers. People know your name.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Listen, I love supporting local businesses because I'm a local business. And I support those who support me. And, I go to my customers. I go to their restaurants and whatnot, and I try. It's very difficult to go to all of them, but I do periodically. I have to swing around, and I go to a lot of places. And I know there's more, and I'm probably forgetting some, but we'll hop in and go across the river, too. We'll go to Arini's or Revere. Some other good places. And I would be remiss if I didn't say Di Lorenzo's tomato pies on Newtown Yardley Road.
Yep.
Those guys, I was going to them when they were in Trenton on Hudson Street.
Yeah, Chambersburg, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So good stuff.
That is some good stuff. Awesome. And my last question for you, Neil, is where can people find out more about you and B.A.I. Security Systems Incorporated?
Well, that's easy. 215-493-1414. Call that number 24/7. There's someone there. BAInow.com. That's Bravo Alpha India November Oscar Whiskey.com. And we're there. Call us. Ask around on Facebook or Next Door Neighbor. We'll pop up. People, thank God, have good things to say about us.
Awesome.
Which is a good thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming out today, Neil. I really appreciate you talking about the background of B.A.I. Security and kind of like your vision and what you do and just you're just such a genuinely good person. And I love that we were able to connect right away and you're able to radiate that goodness into the world and really help out people reach all of their security goals and keep businesses safe and secure and just really give everybody that peace of mind that you do work with. So thank you for being an excellent security systems guy.
Thank you for having me on the show and agreed right back at you. It's good people tend to stick together, so it's all good. And this is great. It was fun. Enjoy it. And who doesn't like talking about themselves, right?
Yeah, it's my favorite subject. Awesome. Thank you so much, Neil. And as always, I'm your host, Alex Neff. Make sure to reach out if you have any questions about Bucks County living.